I'm David Soper, and today I'll be going through an overview of Cisco Intersight Single Sign-On using multiple domain names and to look at how that can be used with shared organizations. So I'll start in Intersight and I'll navigate to the System menu and to Domain Names, and I can add a domain name here. I'm going to add a subdomain of an existing domain, so I've got something in the intersighttme.com. And now I've got two domain names active in this account. And then I'll navigate to Single Sign-On, and I can edit an existing identity provider at this point. And when I do that, I can go add that new domain name, my sts.intersighttme.com. And I see a warning there that I've got an unverified domain name and that login from the base URL is blocked. There's also an option here where I can skip warning during login. I'll leave that unchecked, but I'll show later what that warning is actually telling me and what it looks like whenever you're using unverified domain names in Intersight. I'll save at this point, and now I see that I've got two domain names active for this single identity provider. I'll take a look now at adding users to an identity provider. So it's from the System Settings menu. I'll go to Users and Add User. And I'm using my TME ADFS identity provider. I'll add in an email for the user at this point. And again, it'll be using that new domain name that I've just added, sts.intersighttme.com. And for role, I'm going to select an existing role for EMEA, or my European admins. And I'll show in a second what those organizations and roles actually are in this account. I'll save at this point, and now I've got a user active with that new domain name using my ADFS IDP. So now I'll take a look at using that IDP and multiple domain name setup with shared organizations and role-based access control. So within this Intersight account, here's a quick overview of the resource groups and organizations in place. And so in the lower left, I have an Americas organization that's using an SJC and RTP resource groups. Those contain the physical resources. And then the organization, the Americas organization, contains policies, profiles, and other configuration. On the lower right, I've got an EMEA organization with a London resource group, has its own policies. And then around all of that, I'm going to set up a global organization. And this is where I will use sharing across organizations to allow visibility from that Americas and EMEA organization into the global organization policies and other logical configuration. Back in Intersight, from System Settings, I'll go to Organizations. And I've got a global organization here, which I will go and edit. And I've got an option there to share resources with other organizations. And again, this will be sharing configuration and other resources. As shown in my diagram earlier, I'm going to pick that Americas and EMEA organization, and I'm going to share with those. When I click Save, I'm going to get a notice that modifying this will result in deletion of all associated resource group memberships. That's okay here. That global organization actually isn't using any. It's really just used for shared config, so it's not going to impact any group or any resource group membership. I save at that point. That organization has been edited, and I see that it is shared with the Americas and EMEA organizations. So the last setup I'll do here on Intersight Access Control is go into roles. And this is where I'm finally going to get back and basically configure user access back into the appropriate role and appropriate organization. So within this role, I've got that EMEA admins role already defined. I want to edit that. And the thing I'm going to do on access control here, I'm going to go and add access to my global organization. And this just needs to be read-only so that it can see any shared config. But this will allow that visibility back into the global organization for any shared policies or other configuration. Okay, with all that setup complete, I'm now ready to actually log in using that additional domain name that'll tie me back to that EMEA organization. So from the intersight.com, and one thing here is I'm logging in with this named account. So this is tme-production.intersight.com. As I was warned during domain name setup, I'm going to be blocked from intersight.com login. With that account name in the URL, I can provide my username at sts.intersighttme.com, and when I click sign in with SSO, I'm shown this unverified domain warning. Again, until I verify the domain name, and there's a separate video on how to verify domain names, but until that's verified, I'm going to get this warning. I'm going to be blocked from base name URL, but I can click continue and go on with login. So I'll finish out with a look at operations within an organization. So in my Intersight account, I can take a look at the account info, and I see that I've logged in with that subdomain of intersighttme.com. I'm in a named account, and I've got the role of EMEA admins. So from infrastructure service, I'm going to go in and configure profiles, and I'm going to create a UCS server profile. I'm in my EMEA organization. I'm going to name the profile. I'm going to just name it BIOS-SP for service profile, and I'm just going to set up a simple BIOS policy here when I'm picking that name. I'll do assign later for the server, and when I go in and look at available BIOS policies, I see that I've got this shared policy from that global organization. So I can select that, and I'll just next through the rest of these menus. I won't do a deploy because I didn't define a server, but at that point I'm using shared organizations. I'm using a subdomain for login with IDP. Thank you for the time, and for more information about this, many other features, visit intersight.com/help.